At dawn, somewhere deep within the Mekong River Delta, a South Vietnamese river assault group moves against the Viet Cong. With it goes a young American Navy lieutenant. He serves in a guerrilla war of seek and destroy. Yet here, far from the high seas, he is the American Navy in Vietnam. On Yankee Station, somewhere in the South China Sea, is another, more familiar view of the American Navy in Vietnam. The mammoth Kitty Hawk, second largest of U.S. attack carriers, turns into the wind to launch its airborne strike force. Not far away, along the coast, other units of the U.S. 7th Fleet take careful aim, on call from troops fighting ashore. The big guns place supporting fire on a Viet Cong concentration. Farther south, another kind of armed strength prepares to go ashore. It is the most effective means known for gaining and holding a piece of ground. The individual fighting man, the United States Marine. Inland at Saigon, a Navy chief works at a different kind of job. Less glamorous, but vitally important. Behind the guns, planes, and fighting men is a staff of Navy, Army, and Air Force personnel who administer support activities for Allied forces throughout the country. East of Saigon, at a small village near the coast, these men have gone beyond their basic mission of military action to launch an equally important campaign of civic action. The modern deep-water Navy extends American strength across the oceans of the world. But in Vietnam, the American Navy has done an unprecedented variety of different jobs. It has been responsible for all support activities. With the Army, it has been advisor to the South Vietnamese and has sent Marines to help fight the land war. With the Air Force, it flies the planes which provide air power. And with civilian agencies, it pursues a vigorous program of civic action. These are the all-around capabilities demonstrated by a modern, versatile naval force in action. This is the American Navy in Vietnam. July 1964. Off the coast of Vietnam, units of the United States 7th Fleet patrol the waters of the South China Sea. The U.S. and other countries have begun a flow of economic, technical, and financial aid to help the people of South Vietnam defend themselves against the threat of an armed communist takeover. A small but dedicated South Vietnamese Navy is hard at work in an effort to deny the use of the rivers and coastal waters as supply routes for the Viet Cong. A select group of American sailors train and advise their South Vietnamese counterparts. At the end of July 1964, U.S. military intelligence sources in Saigon report an increase in Viet Cong forces in South Vietnam. Then the Navy's role in Vietnam suddenly expands. On August 2nd, the United States Navy destroyer Maddox, on patrol in the Gulf of Tonkin, begins to track 3 unknown craft approaching from the northwest. They are identified as North Vietnamese PT boats, armed with torpedoes and 37mm guns. When warnings from the Maddox fail to stop the oncoming PT boats, the destroyer opens fire.
destroyer was carrying out a mission of patrol in those waters, in international waters. When it was attacked, it replied to the attack. It continued to carry out its mission today and will do so the remainder of this week in the same waters. The President has asked that the destroyer force be doubled and that an air cap, a combat air patrol, be available at all times on call to it. And as I think you know, he's issued instructions that in the event of a further attack upon our vessels in international waters, we are to respond with the objective of destroying the attackers.
The Maddox, joined by the destroyer C. Turner Joy, resumes its routine patrol. But the next night, men on watch once again detect enemy contact on radar. The attack by the North Vietnamese boats is renewed. After a 3-hour battle in which 2 of the PT boats are sunk, the attackers break contact.
My fellow Americans, as President and Commander-in-Chief, it is my duty to the American people to report that renewed hostile actions against United States ships on the high seas in the Gulf of Tonkin have today required me to order the military forces of the United States to take action in reply. The performance of commanders and crews in this engagement is in the highest tradition of the United States Navy. But repeated acts of violence against the armed forces of the United States must be met not only with alert defense, but with positive reply.
By the end of March 1965, air operations from Navy carriers in the South China Sea are underway on a daily basis. Also in March, 7th Fleet Marines land at Da Nang, then at Chulai, and later on the Bun Mu Peninsula. On land, the Allied forces fight to turn the tide of the conflict from a retreating defense against guerrilla attacks to an offensive strategy designed to defeat the Viet Cong. Embodied in the forces of the United States 7th Fleet is almost every facet of modern naval power. Cruisers like the USS Canberra are built for speed and endurance. The destroyer, indispensable to any naval action, is the workhorse of the fleet. The USS Bainbridge, the largest of the destroyer class, is the world's first nuclear-powered guided missile frigate. Both cruisers and destroyers have been called upon to play a special role in Vietnam.
Delta, this is Gamma 26 Charlie. Target number 201, bearing 13.
Whenever the need arises, ships of the 7th Fleet move quickly into position along the coast of Vietnam and take their directions from a forward air controller, or spotter, who is in visual contact with the enemy.
Fire for effect, over.
This is naval gunfire support, a mobile source of big gun reinforcement for friendly troops ashore. They can fire with devastating accuracy from as far away as 30 miles. Standing offshore is the heart of the American Navy in Vietnam, the aircraft carrier. From the huge Kitty Hawk to the even larger nuclear-powered Enterprise, the Navy's attack carriers have proven their worth in Vietnam. Fast, mobile, and independent of political boundaries and agreements, the carrier can launch her warbirds on a moment's notice. The modern attack carrier locks man and machine in a seemingly effortless, yet dangerous dance. Every man has an important role to play. From yeoman to machinist's mate, many of the men below decks work at important traditional jobs, familiar to naval ships throughout the world. Other men must master newer skills and disciplines required by new technologies. The Combat Information Center is equipped with the latest gear for rapid communication and data handling. Sophisticated electronic and computerized systems provide a complete picture of the surrounding tactical situation.
Your pigeon 160, 80 miles, steer home plate, over.
The final responsibility for the success of the carrier's mission rests with a small group of men whose job is to master the intricate operation of a $1 million fighting machine, the modern jet aircraft.
Everybody get your radios and get the data down off the board here, and you'll be ready to man them.
The carrier's primary mission is to put these men and their planes in the air and on target. Her mix of fighters, attack aircraft, and reconnaissance planes extends the carrier's reach for hundreds of miles. They seek out and selectively strike crucial targets: enemy supply routes and storage depots, dams and airfields, barracks and troop concentrations. One of the best examples of the range and flexibility of naval power is a modern amphibious operation, a coordinated Navy-Marine Corps action designed to bring a force in readiness wherever it's needed, put it ashore, and hold a piece of ground. In Vietnam, amphibious assaults by forces of the United States 7th Fleet have driven the Viet Cong from many strongholds along the coast. It is typical of the cooperative effort in Vietnam that in this operation, a Navy amphibious ship provides a landing platform and fresh ammunition for Army helicopters, which will in turn provide air support for soldiers and Marines on shore. One of the newest concepts in strike warfare is built around the amphibious assault ship, a floating helicopter base with complete facilities for the service and control of an airborne assault.
Clearwater Control, this is Bravo 8-1, airborne at 30.
The helicopter brings to amphibious operations the tactical advantage of vertical envelopment. Marines are swiftly airlifted to land and placed behind enemy positions while the rest of the force assaults the beach. The enemy must then fight a battle on two fronts. The success of the mission is then left in the capable hands of the Fleet Marine, the Navy's most competent means of extending its power inland. It may be that the most unusual thing about the American Navy in Vietnam is the fact that it has played such an important role in Vietnam. One of the most important jobs is the continuing patrol of Vietnamese coastal waters. Airborne patrols are flown day and night to prevent the infiltration of supplies and ammunition from the north.
Queen Cut, this is Bluebird 3-0.
Large cargo jump to position X-ray Romeo 7386.
Request surface units investigate.
Bluebird 3-0, this is Clean Cut, roger out. Suspicious contact report, sir? Very well, thank you.
All naval activities throughout the country are coordinated here in Saigon. One of the major endeavors of this command is Operation Market Time, the Navy's name for the important task of coastal surveillance. In this case, a destroyer escort is assigned to examine a suspicious contact reported by Air Patrol. Vietnamese Navy liaison officers assigned to each American ship check and identify papers and cargo manifests. Examining every nook and cranny of thousands of fishing and cargo junks makes for tedious work. But an innocent-looking cargo of fish or rice might conceal supplies and ammunition destined for the Viet Cong. In addition to destroyers and minesweepers, Operation Market Time patrols are conducted by a high-speed patrol craft of the United States Coast Guard, whose crews are well versed in this kind of coastal patrol. One of the newest additions to the patrol efforts in Vietnam is the Navy's PBR, a 31-foot plastic-hulled water jet-propelled craft designed for high-speed operation in very shallow water. Quiet and highly maneuverable, it is used in Operation Game Warden, whose mission is to prohibit all Viet Cong movement in the Mekong River Delta. Canto, on the Ba Sik River, is headquarters for Vietnamese River Assault Group 25. Here and at other bases throughout the country, officers and men of the U.S. Naval Advisory Group perform one of the most important roles of the American Navy in Vietnam. Side by side with his Vietnamese counterpart, the American advisor denies the waterways and hiding places of the Mekong Delta to the Viet Cong. A typical operation begins shortly after midnight, as troops load aboard the assault boat and start upriver. By dawn, the assault group has moved several miles upriver to close in on a Viet Cong force. In terms of numbers, these men who ride the river assault boats are few. In terms of the overall Navy commitment, their contribution is great. At a junk force base in the Delta, near the small fishing village of Piang Ton, a U.S. naval advisor lives and works with the men of Vietnamese Coastal Group 37. With his counterpart, the base commander, he takes part in every phase of the daily routine. Together, they carry out the daily patrols, constantly checking against the possible infiltration of Viet Cong supplies on the river waterways. Other advisors at the Vietnamese Naval Shipyard in Saigon contribute their knowledge of improved shipbuilding techniques and new construction material to help increase shipyard efficiency. All across South Vietnam, naval construction experts, or CBs, are at work on a wide variety of vital projects. Often working behind the scenes, the CBs don't make headlines, but without the things they do make, the headlines might never appear. From airfields and roads to hospitals and storage depots, the Navy construction battalions live up to their motto of can do. The Navy also supervises civilian contractors who plan and build military facilities throughout the country. For the officers and men of the Navy and Marine Corps who serve on shore, the campaign in Vietnam is not only military in nature. CB technical assistance teams help with scores of civilian projects which will improve conditions for the South Vietnamese people. Roads, bridges, buildings, and security hamlets to provide safety from the Viet Cong terrorism. Clinics conducted by Navy doctors, dentists, and corpsmen have brought medical treatment and supplies to remote areas virtually untouched by even the most primitive of medical services. Through people-to-people projects of many kinds, these men are working to win the confidence and restore the hopes of the Vietnamese. This, too, is the American Navy in Vietnam. In terms of the variety and scope of the experience, Vietnam has already written a new chapter in the annals of naval history. Never before has the potential of the Navy Marine team been so fully realized. And yet one important thing remains unchanged. The success of the overall effort will rely, as it always has, upon the acts of the individual man. Whatever credit is due will rest with many thousands of individual men who stand behind the aircraft, the ships, the boats, and the rifles from the Delta to the South China Sea. And whether he serves ashore, in the rivers and coastal waters, at sea, or in the sky above, he will shoulder the responsibility for final success or failure. And he will be the one to make the needed sacrifice. This is the American Navy in Vietnam, moving quickly where and when needed, extending its influence at sea, on land, and holding superiority in the air. A three-way force for peace, geared to meet aggression at any spot on the globe.